Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood. As we continue our month talking 1980s anthology movies. Up next, if y'all like long-haired guys who want to go to Hollywood and bang girls because they have nice hair. If y'all like youngsters getting eaten by the lake. And if y'all like a middle-aged white girl having 6 orgasms and then running over a hiker, then this is the review for you, brother. Because the Retro Blood is talking all about Creepshow 2. That's right, number 2. J. Allison, James Scott. What's happening, Allison? How you feeling? How you feeling? Have you been giving out 6 orgasms lately and getting paid?
Man, I give the orgasms out left and right. That's what I'm known for.
That was an interesting story. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, that's a weird way for you to describe the movie you just watched. But okay, we'll go through.
Hey, I just noticed the very important parts of the story.
Yeah, I
all right.
I haven't seen this movie in a long time. But when I watched the second story, The Raft,
yeah,
as soon as that thing started, I was like, oh, this is a movie about James.
What do you mean? I mean, getting stuck on a raft and then trying to cop a field at the end?
No, you're not that guy. You're the guy that you Deke or
the football dude. Yeah,
that's you.
Yeah, Deke. Yeah, Deke. What's his name? Deker.
Is it Deke?
Yeah, something like that. I'll have to look it up.
It's Deke. Yeah. So that's you. You're Deke.
Yeah, because all I remember them is saying Cisco and Pancho during the whole fucking thing.
Right, because that was that called back to the first story.
Yeah,
where they're watching the Cisco Kid on television.
Yeah, so it all ties together. But this one, actually, like I was saying last week when we did Creepshow 1, I remember this movie more than I do Creepshow 1. And I think what I remember the most about it is just the opening scene and the what is it? The Chief Woodhead.
Chief Woodenhead, yeah, the first story.
Yeah, those are the ones I remember the most. So I guess when I watched it before, I only got up to that story. I didn't finish it, but now we did finish it. So, we got a lot to talk about. This one's this one's definitely a little interesting. So,
yeah, I know. I think I have either a lot to say or nothing to say. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, we'll get to it. It should be pretty fun. Yeah. But we do have a jam-packed episode here today because
we do,
especially when it comes to history segment. Usually our history segments, I don't like to make them like super long, but this one might be a little long where we might have to take part of it and put it on the YouTube, brother. All right, because I don't want to talk everybody's ear off over here. But
no, you gotta go to the YouTubes to see the whole story.
Yeah, the whole story. So a couple things. So this movie, we usually do a release date. This one came out May 1st, 1987. All right, So we're having kind of like a summertime release here. But the big thing I want to talk about, there is a big concert going on that we're going to be talking about in the metal music. But I first want to talk a little bit about that man called Sting. That's what I want to talk about.
I heard he does this and that.
He does this and that. That's true. All right, he's the man on the attack. All right.
Yeah, at least during this era when this movie came out.
Yes, it's true. So the reason we're bringing this up, so me and Allison, we said this before, everybody who's new or has been listening for us for a while, we live the gimmick. All right,
it's not an act.
It's not an act, brother. We don't just go to horror movies and talk about them. We don't just talk about wrestling on here because, it's something to talk about. No, we live it. We don't just talk about concerts because, we secretly we listen to Lady Gaga. No, because we listen to metal, brother. All right. So we actually go to concerts, go to the wrestling shows, go to the horror movies, the horror movie conventions, you name it. We live the gimmick, so we know what we're talking about. So we actually went to the legendary Greensboro Coliseum, brother, which we have talked about a couple of times here on the podcast because this Coliseum is pretty much the Starcade Coliseum. It is. I would assume. Because, in the 80s, we talk about Starcade on here, and of course, this particular arena, they hosted the 93 Starcade all the way to 96, I believe.
83 to 96.
Yes. So, and then of course, we had a couple of WWE events over here that happened around here too. There was a King of the Ring '99 that our Allison went to, and
Which I was at, yep.
I believe there was a Survivor Series that also happened in Greensboro too. But this particular event that we went to was, I think it was the highest gate that Greensboro has ever done. If I believe
the show we went to?
The show we went to, yes.
Wow.
Because it was $1 million gate for this particular show.
Oh, you mean in money?
Yeah, money, yes.
Yeah, in money, not in tickets sold. I'm sure that's absolutely true.
Yes. So it was, I'm pretty sure this thing was sold out. Like, I didn't get the whole numbers if it was sold out or not, but it was pretty filled to the rafters, brother, and they shut down the highway to get there.
They did. You couldn't even get to Greensboro. Yeah. Couldn't even get into Greensboro that day.
So obviously this match was billed, or this whole event was billed around the career and the retirement of Sting. Mm-hmm. And, a couple of things I want to talk about. Sting, we talk about him here in our show when we do our history segment here and there, because he did start his career in 1985. All right. And which is pretty interesting that he started his career from being basically like a big bodybuilder. And he joined he started his career in California, at All California Championship Wrestling, where he was the tag team with Jim Justice Hellwig, who would later be known as the Ultimate Warrior. All right.
Yep.
They're two big.
They were the Blade Runners.
Well, no, they weren't the Blade Runners first. At first, they were Power Team USA. All right. Because they were like a 4-guy stable. All right. And then this is when they would join the UWF, and then that's when they become Blade Runners from there. Because the story is that I believe it was Jerry Jarrett saw the pictures of them, and he was like, okay, I'll take the two on the left, brother. All right. And then he brought them over there, and he wanted to basically make them like their version of the Road Warriors. So that was like the gimmick for a while. They wanted to make Sting and Ultimate Warrior kind of like the Road Warriors, because I think that's why they call them the Blade Runners are first. So after he had his run with the Blade Runners, which in his own words, they were pretty much green as grass. Like they were just two big dudes doing power spots. They never really got taught how to wrestle too well. And, they didn't really like Sting and Hellwig pretty much, agreed that they didn't really want to be like tag teams. They wanted to be single stars. So that's why they kind of like split up a little bit. And that's when Hellwig, he would go to, WCCW, and then he would later transition to the WWF in the 80s. While Sting, he took the path of going to Bill Watts, all right? And he was working for Bill Watts, and Bill Watts is kind of like, he's credited Bill Watts as the guy that really taught him, like, more of the wrestling, more of the art form of wrestling. And of course, when Bill Watts and Jim Crockett Promotions merged, obviously Sting was part of that package. And then you could see very early on when Sting, joined Jim Crockett Promotions, that this guy is going to be like, the next big thing. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell that he's going to be something, going into the 90s. So.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then the Blade Runners was when Sting got his name. He became Sting.
Yes.
As one of the Blade Runners. I think Ultimate Warrior was Rock.
Yeah, Rock,
I
believe.
And Sting. I think Rock and Sting were the Blade Runners.
Yeah, because his first name was Flash. Thank God. Flash and Sting.
Yeah, they were.
Come on, bro.
Well, they were when they were the Freedom Fighters. They were Justice and Flash.
Yes,
they?
Yes, Justice and Flash. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they become and then he become the Sting and the Rock, like you said. But yeah, he pretty much joined. He began his Jim Crockett Promotions career in 1987. All right. So, and that's when obviously he would, go on to, kind of rise up pretty quickly, because, what mirrors this show, that the one that we went to in Greensboro, is everybody was always talking about the first Clash of the Champions.
Yep.
All right. So the first Clash of the Champions was held on March 27, 1988 by Jim Crockett Promotions. Okay. And the reason that they did this event for everybody out there is basically, so the Attitude Era wasn't the first time that the WCW and the WWF were like battling each other. That actually happened in the 80s. All right. So basically what happened is, they were trying to do Starrcade. I believe it was Starrcade 87, I believe. And what happened was they were, obviously Starrcade 87 was always supposed to be on Thanksgiving. And then the WWF, they put on the first Survivor Series on Thanksgiving to rival that Starrcade. Mm-hmm. All right. And there everybody's like, what the hell, And then when the WrestleMania was come out, it was Jim Crockett's turn, okay, to do the same thing, go up against him. But at that time, a lot of the reason they kind of had to be on TV to do the Clash of the Champions was because the Vince was basically saying, like, listen, if you guys put it head to head or whatever, I'm not going to give you WrestleMania. And, he had a clause in his contract where there's an event that's like his couldn't be like his for like a month or a month before or a month after of his pay-per-view events. So he was playing it that way. So that's why they kind of went on TV. And of course, if you go on TV too, you're also going to have a bigger audience. You probably not make as much money at that time. You won't make as much money compared to the seat prices and like the pay-per-view revenue. But it was a really good idea for them to do the Clash, and it actually had a huge number and very successful for Jim Crockett Promotions at that time.
Yes. So it was smart in that they were trying to take eyes off of the WWE show.
Yes.
But probably not financially smart. And it would turn out to be not so smart because they would lose pay-per-view coverage. I believe there was some retribution from WWE for this, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, because so basically, in 1988, that's kind of when Jim Crockett Promotions was pretty much going down because they eventually sold to Ted Turner, okay, later on in 1988. So obviously, it probably wasn't the best idea to put it on there, but it did show that they weren't afraid and they were like doing it, but eventually, no matter what, I think Ted Turner would have taken the territory over regardless if they put that pay-per-view on there or not, because Jim Crockett Promotions was just losing so much money.
I was about to say, he was spending. I mean, Jim Crockett thought he was like he honestly thought he could beat Vince.
Yes.
But they were spending too much money. They were spending more money than they were making. They were, when they were buying the jets and all that shit. Like, if he hadn't spent all that money and tried to branch out too far, they probably would have lasted a lot longer. But I don't know if anybody would have ever overcome Vince McMahon, though.
Yeah. It's just at the time, we talked about the rise of the WWF. Pretty much right when 1985 happened, you can kind of see the switch kind of going more to WWF just because of how big and successful WrestleMania was.
I was about to say because they had Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, you know what I mean? Like nothing. I mean, nothing. I don't know that anything has ever been as big in wrestling as Hulkamania. Even I mean, I used to think that, Austin 316 was bigger than Hulkamania, but I really don't think so. I think that Hulkamania is the biggest thing that's probably ever happened in wrestling. And Vince, as long as Vince had Hulk Hogan, he was going to come out on top, I believe, no matter what.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, even though it's very interesting if you actually take yourself to that time period, because I could see a lot of younger fans maybe gravitating obviously towards the WWF because it's a little bit more cartoony. You know what I mean? Even though they did have some serious angles in the WWF, the one that comes out to my mind is mostly the Jake Roberts and Randy Savage feud, where they had his fucking snake bite his fucking arm. That's pretty crazy. and then that Rick Rude one too that we talked about before with him gyration in front of Jake Roberts and his wife. But when it comes to the wrestling style, I mean, it just you couldn't really beat the Crockett promotion. They just had a more fast paced, just more athletic style. So if you're more of like a sports fan or more of a faster style, like that would be like your cup of tea. But sometimes it just that's how it happens. All right, so let's move on here. So, Allison, what do we got when it comes to the metal music around this release date for Creepshow? What are we listening to in the Tram Zam as we find some hitchhikers and try to run them over? What do we got listening to?
So it's been a while since we've had this segment on our show of what was Iron Maiden doing when this movie came out. Oh. But we're going to be talking about Iron Maiden again. So, so Iron Maiden was on their what was it called? Somewhere on Tour. So which was the tour for Somewhere in Time, which was like probably their last. No, actually, Seventh Son. It was a huge album too, but it was near the end of the '80s, but it was like right after they got as big as they could possibly get. Like they'd come off the World Slavery Tour to put out this album. And now they're on tour again for what seems like forever. But they were getting near the end of the road on this one. So in May of that year, they were touring, and finishing up some of the dates they had. And they're actually, when this movie came out, they were actually on a break. But they, on May the 1st and the 2nd, they played 2 shows in California. They played in Irvine and they played in San Jose. So in San Jose, they played actually on May the 1st, they played the Spartan Stadium, which is like a college stadium for a college that I can't remember. San Jose State. That's where the Spartans, San Jose State Spartans. But yeah, they were playing the end of the Somewhere in Time tour there, and they were going to go on to Japan and finish up the dates. But I wanted to talk about this because it kind of parallels the tour that Iron Maiden is on now. So now they're doing an anniversary tour or a throwback tour to Somewhere in Time right now, where they're doing half the show is Somewhere in Time material and half the tour is the current material that they're doing. But this was, in my opinion, probably one of the last great Iron Maiden tours that they would have for about 10 years or so, up to about 1999. But yeah, this is kind of like a last hurrah for them. They would go on to do one more big tour, and then they kind of just fell off the earth. But this is definitely a highlight of the 80s for me.
So I got a question.
Have you ever? Yeah, go ahead.
So, I know nowadays when Iron Maiden goes on stage, they have all their, the big stage show, they have all these, what do you call them? Creatures or characters on the stage. You know what I mean? And they come out and they fight each other and stuff. Did they do that in the 80s or like what their show was like? Was it more like just them coming out there and playing with some stuff in the background?
No, they did more of that stuff then than they do now.
Okay.
Like the shows were actually larger then than they are now.
Interesting.
If that makes any sense. So they now they kind of have like a set, like they have one set that they just redressed to make it look like whatever they wanted it to. So the stage then was like, it was like a regular stage, but it had like, it's hard to describe without showing you a picture of it, but it was a regular stage, but it had these like metal, spacey looking like platforms that they could run around on. And then they had backdrops, the same ones they use now. And then they just had like regular lights. But this one had the cyborg Eddie that came out and shot at the crowd, which they're still using now. They're using that again now. They probably had a more theatrical. They had a larger show than they probably have now. Although on this particular tour that they're on, they're using 3 different what they call walking Eddies, which is like the guy on stilts that comes out as Eddie and does something different. They have like 3 of them in this show, but usually they only have 1 or 2. But back then they would have like, at least 3 to come on and do something different. But yeah, they still had the pyro, they had explosions, they had basically the same kind of show they have now, except they were much younger and could run around a lot more than they do. Although they run around quite a bit now for people in their 70s.
Yeah, man, he's still got the energy. That's for sure.
Yeah. If I could only have half the amount of energy they have now, as they do in their 70s, I would be perfectly happy.
Good brother. You know what I mean? It's those guitar riffs, man. They just get you going.
Get you going. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
the show started.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what's the cool thing about it? Maybe we can put this on the YouTube channel if we still have the Facebook page if we still have it. But
yeah,
it started off with like the end title credits to Blade Runner. And when I saw that, I thought on this new tour, I was like, oh yeah, it's the same show. But they, the lights go out, and then there's like the closing credits to Blade Runner plays, the music plays from Vangelis, and then they come out to Caught Somewhere in Time, and then they did the same thing when I saw them in Canada last year, and it was awesome. It was amazing.
Yeah,
and I'll see it again, and this coming up fall too, because they're coming back.
Yeah, we'll play that there on the Facebook group page. Everybody join the Retro Blood group page, where we can discuss the podcast, or you can, talk about anything that you want on there that we do. We've also post a bunch of specials on there when we can, trying to give it some more love on there. But yeah, I mean, definitely a fun tour. I mean, what a time, you know what I mean? You can check out this tour in the Trans Am. We would stop by, see the Creepshow on our way through the tour and stuff. You know what I mean? Not too bad of a movie, Yeah,
we could see Creepshow during the afternoon and then go see Iron Maiden that night.
There you go, man. Yeah, but the Iron Maiden, they we even had like a little Iron Maiden scene in this movie.
I know. I was like with a Trooper poster or T-shirt or whatever it was. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, by the character awesome. Fatso.
Fatso, yes.
Well, let's get on to this, though. Let's talk about who booked this shit, brother.
Who booked this shit? So why did this happen?
So this one was a little different than just a little different than the first one. So this one was actually directed by Michael Cornick. All right. Uh-huh. So he's the one that directed it. And we still have George A. Romero here, but he mostly did the screenplay. And it was written by George A. Romero, too. And then we did use some of Stephen King's stuff, and of course Stephen King was in this film playing the truck driver, and I was like, man, can this fucking guy not act, brother? Why do we have to put this guy in films, brother? You know what I mean?
I'd forgotten he was in it.
The stupid redneck. Stop playing a redneck. Brother, you can't do it. Get out of here. Just play some.
I don't know. For some reason, he just loves that. He just loves that.
He loves that gig, brother.
Redneck character. He loves playing the redneck character. But as soon as I saw him get out of the truck, I was like, "Oh, James is gonna love this."
It's like,
and he just played the same over-the-top character as he played in the first movie.
Yeah, and I believe he had the story The Raft. I think that's the one he kind of like. It was in one of his books or short stories or something like that.
Yeah, The Raft was a short story for sure.
Yeah. So, with some stuff that's pretty interesting about this film. So originally this film was going to be like the first one where it's going to have 5 stories. All right. Mm-hmm. But they cut them out. And rumors they cut it out for like budgetary reasons. Probably a little bit of both, like budgetary and time issues. But it's pretty interesting. The 2 stories they were going to add in this movie, one was called Cat from Hell, okay? Mm-hmm. Which would later be used in the Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. Have you ever seen Tales from the Dark Side?
Yes. So I was actually going to bring this up and forgot. Because remember, like we were kind of taught, we've kind of mentioned like some of our favorite anthology TV shows.
Yes.
Tales from the Dark Side is one of mine, and they made a movie about it.
Yes.
Like a movie version of it, which is not nearly as good as the TV show. But basically, George Romero produced the TV series, and it was supposed to be like Creepshow, the TV series, but he didn't have the rights to the name Creepshow. because it was produced by CBS. So, but that was like something I remember watching. I want to say it was on like Saturday nights or something, and it was like a horror TV show, and we would watch it, like, which is weird because I'm the only person in my family that likes horror, but we would watch Tales from the Dark Side every week. And I remember just sitting, like, my parents would have company over, and we only had one TV, so I would sit in the middle of the floor in the living room and watch Tales from the Dark Side every night when my parents had company over. It was fucking cool. But yeah, so it was done for the Tales from the Dark Side movie because apparently they ran out of money on this one and they just couldn't afford it to do 2 more stories.
Yeah, so the story, The Cat from Hell, basically focused on a wealthy old man hiring a hitman for $100,000 to kill a black cat, which was believed to have killed 3 other people inside the residence he lives in, and he fears to be next. Unbeknownst to them, the cat soon exists cosmic revenge on the 2. So we could have had a whole black cat killer over here, brother. But they saved that for the dark side of the Tales from the Dark Side. So the other one was Pinfall, all right, which was set to appear after Old Chief Woodenhead. It told the story of 2 rival teams consisting of Regimen and Bad News Boars competing in a bowling alley owned by a aged millionaire. The owner is soon killed in a freak accident, and the teams found out afterwards that he would award one of them $5 million for whoever got the highest score. That's fucking.
See, I think that sounds like a better story than some of the stories we got in this movie.
A little bit. Soon things turned up for the worse of the Reggie team when the Boers, after they were killed in a fiery car crash purposely caused by the Regal team, or the Reggie team, return as burnt up residents and soon get the revenge on their killers. So yeah, I mean, that would have been a cool story. You know what I mean? I could see that one. This one's probably a little bit more creative than like the last one we got of the fucking 6 orgasm girl. So
I like the concept of that last story, and I thought, like I said, it's been many years, probably decades since I've seen this movie, and I really thought I would like the last story best, but I did not.
So unlike Cat from Hell, which managed to be brought on the screen through a different film, which we talked about, Pinfall was never shot and never appeared outside of the film's original script. However, in 2014, the segment was funded through Kickstarter by Dale Teagarden and was sexually pledged by its backers. The segment itself was also going to be put into the sequel for Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, but this never came to fruition.
Oh well.
So, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Apparently, there's a Kickstarter about it, and I couldn't really find anything about it, so I don't know if it actually got made or not. But
yeah, it doesn't sound like it actually got produced. Because what I'm seeing is it says the production ultimately did not proceed, which makes me think it was never produced. It was made into a comic book, though.
Yes. So during the Raft segment, actor Daniel Beer, it's not Beer, but actually yes, Daniel Beer. It's a cool last name, Beer. Like, that's a real last name. Decided that he almost died from hypothermia due to the water being very cold. While the crew wanted him to continue working, director Michael Gorick brought him to the hospital as he feared the actor would leave the set and never return if they forced him to keep working. After a full recovery, he managed to finish the segment, brother.
Yeah, well, they filmed it like in the fall or something, didn't they?
Yeah, they're shoot cold water, brother.
Yeah.
All right.
Because it takes place in the fall, so it's like you gotta do the shoot shit, right?
Yeah.
You gotta.
Unlike nowadays, we fake everything, brother. Back in the day, they just threw these assholes in the water.
In the cold water.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, the Raft. We got a lot to say about the Raft when it happens, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be pretty fun. But yeah, I mean, there's some other stuff in the film too. So there was something I wanted to bring up that happened in the Raft. I believe. Let me see if I got it on my notes. I believe one of the kids was wearing like the school shirt in the Raft, and the school was actually I can't find the name of it over here. But the school was the same school that Stephen King used in a lot of his films. He actually used the Raft in his short story, had this school in there. All right.
Mhm.
And the movie Christine has actually had this school in there as well. So I thought that was a really cool like little Easter egg.
Yeah, he does that a lot. Like he uses like a lot of the same. It's almost like he has like a universe. So like a lot of most of his books take place in the same kind of universe.
Yeah, so I found it. The Lawrence Hurlick's University. All right. And he used it for his skeleton crew. That's when the skeleton crew is where the Raft story came from, and he also used it. The same school was the same school that the characters from the Crate, from the movie we did last week. All right, with the guy trying to put his wife in the box. All right, that was the same school, and it was the same school that's on Christine. So he was doing these little Easter eggs without his stories too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really awesome. I like how his characters appear in other stories as minor characters.
Yes.
I always thought that was really cool, and he did it even more as his career went on. But like his '80s career, like he would, like Castle Rock was a big deal in most of his. Like it was a big deal town in like a lot of his stories, and so, certain characters would appear in other stories as minor characters in those, and that was kind of cool. Lots of apparently evil stuff going on in Maine during the 80s.
Yeah, man. You know what I mean? Like
terrifying place.
Terrifying, brother. You gotta be careful. Mm-hmm. Wait, it was in Maine too, where he did his It story too.
Oh yeah, it takes place in Maine. Yeah. I mean, almost all of his stories do. The Raft doesn't though. There's no way it could, right? There's no way you could swim in October in Maine.
Well, that's what they did.
I mean, does it say that it takes place in Maine?
Not Maine, no, but they said it was around October.
Yeah, it does take place in October, but there's no way. Like, no, by October it's like snowing in Maine. There's no way that that you could be swimming in October. But anyway, I guess that doesn't matter.
So a couple little notes too. So this film marked Dorothy Lamour's first film appearance in 11 years since a cameo back in 1976. But also turned out to be her final one as well. And overall final on-screen acting appearance. She would, however, live until September 22nd, 1996, dying at the age of 81. And she was the one that played Martha. She was like the wife in that movie. And then another one, this was Dominic John's only movie role. He played the silent role of the young boy Billy in the live action portion of the opening. He is a local boy from Dexter, Maine, where the movie begins. Dexter can be identified by the location of the Rennie's department store. So, a couple of little side notes on there. And of course, throughout the film too, we see, we had little Easter eggs of Stephen King's books. We had Easter eggs of Iron Maiden, and we had Easter eggs of actually having the Creepshow magazine or the comic book in the actual film too, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was the same comic book that the last movie ended on.
Yes.
So it had the same cover, and that was the one that was being delivered by Tom Savini as the creep in this movie.
Yes. So pretty cool stuff. I like when they mix everything like that. You know what I mean? Little Easter eggs and stuff. People like that. So, but everybody, and Allison, I say let's get to the full review of Creepshow 2, and of course we'll do like we did last week. We'll pick our top favorite one, second one, and third one, since there's only 3 stories on here. But we'll pick our top ones that we liked stories. So, but let's get on into it.
Let's do it.
5 years ago, Stephen King and George Romero, 2 masters of the macabre, created their hallmark of horror, Creepshow. Many would argue that nothing of significance has happened since. Until now. Maybe you don't get out much.
Oh, this is crazy. This is totally crazy.
Maybe you're always running late.
I gotta go.
Or maybe you just have other things on your mind.
They gotta make me a movie star.
But if you only make it to one scary film all year, make it one you'll remember all year long. Creepshow 2. If you like movies that will keep you stuck to your chair. Stephen King and George Romero have conjured up an all-new Creepshow.
No! That's impossible!
Just for you.
I mean, what is it?
I don't know.
So don't just sit there.
And I'm gonna swim for it right now.
Walk. Run. Swim if you have to.
I got you!
But whatever you do, don't take your time. Because the scares come twice as quickly in
I beat you.
Creepshow 2.
All right.
Right.
So we start off with the, I like my notes here, the main creep in this old looking town, which is obviously Maine.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like a wannabe England.
Well, kind of, yeah.
No.
I mean, I think it just looks like a small town, like a lot of small towns look.
Looked like an old, whatever.
Right.
So we have young Billy here. Was this the same Billy that Tom Savini was yelling at last time, or I think it was a different Billy, huh?
It was a different Billy, surely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a different Billy.
But it's still the same Billy in canon from the first movie. Remember, because he killed his dad in the first movie with the thing, and this one uses.
No, it's not. No, it's not the same person.
Well, I mean, maybe the same character, Billy. Like it's played by a different actor.
Because remember the Billy in the first one went on to the cover of Creepshow. And that was the issue that he's on the cover of that got delivered to this Billy.
Gotcha,
this is a different kid.
So this Billy wants to be like Billy from the first one.
Well, yeah, he probably will once he reads the story, but he hasn't yet.
Okay. So
he just now got his issue of Creepshow.
yeah. So apparently this Billy like knows what he's in for because he was there at the comic book shop bright and early.
Mhm.
All right. He was there on like when the fucking print is coming into the store. Like that's how early he is. And
Yeah, he just got. I don't know if he even paid for it. He just got it out of the little bundle the guy threw off the truck.
And Allison, you're more of a comic book aficionado than I am. Now, when you try to get the newest issue out of a comic book, do you go there before the story even opens and talk to the delivery guy? And let's say you're getting like, X-Men, issue 1043. Is a Sentinel supposed to deliver the comic book to the actual local store?
No, but it's also not a horror comic. Horror comics are delivered by whatever main character is hosting the comic.
I got you. So
that's why the Creep delivered this. If you get Tales from the Crypt comic book, it was delivered by the Crypt Keeper.
Okay.
That's just kind of how horror comics worked back then.
I got you. That makes sense. So and this Creep guy, he looked like like a goblin.
Yeah.
But I believe he was played by Tom Savini, the real life one. So we kind of go back and forth. We have like the real life stuff, then we got like the animated stuff. But I'll just make
we
sure.
haven't talked about that. The animated credits. Well, there's actually animated sequences between the movies this time.
Yes,
which is really cool.
So
I love
Billy,
the animation.
So Billy, he's getting his copy of this comic book and stuff. All right, and the Goblin's making all kinds of jokes about it and stuff. All right, and then we turn into the animation, and then Billy he grabs himself a copy, and we have this whole intro, pretty cool intro, like a comic book style intro, and the Creep welcomes us back for some more, saying we are a glutton for punishment. We all love the gore. All right, I was like, yeah, brother. He seems like this guy. The Creep was basically talking like an opening for like a death metal concert. Y'all came back for more blood and stuff and more gore, brother. Let's go. You know what I mean? That's what it reminded me of. All right.
That would be a cool sample to use at the beginning of like a death metal show, like right before the band comes out.
Yeah.
They could just play that sample and then the band could just go into it. That'd be freaking awesome.
That'd be great. So we had the first story. All right. Old Chief Woodenhead. All right. And this is the one I remember the most as a kid watching this. So we're at this old like town that's pretty much bad on his luck. All right. And pretty much the story is about this older couple. And it's about this older couple, Ray and Martha. and they own themselves a convenience store, and the convenience store was actually like a pretty hot store for its time. It actually brought the town in a lot of money. It brought them a lot of money. They put their whole kids through college with the money, had a bunch of saved up for their grandparents, their grandkids. But then the town pretty much kind of like lost its luster. It's kind of like lost the jobs there, and everybody kind of just moved out. So lately the store has been pretty much on bad times. And the whole thing is, Ray thinks everything is going to be better. Like, he doesn't want to give up the shop. Like, that's his legacy. That's his, he loves going to the shop. And Martha's like, you don't have to, keep working. Like, we could just retire. Like, we could just quit. But he doesn't want to quit, And his favorite thing is putting the war paint on the chief statue. And
Which is, I was going to say, that's kind of like a thing that doesn't exist anymore. Like all our Gen Z listeners probably won't have any idea what this is, but like outside general stores, there used to have like what they call a cigar store Indian, and it would just be like a wooden Indian statue that would stand outside like any place that sold cigars. Basically, it's like a symbol for a place you can buy cigars. So that's what this is. So he likes to put the war paint on the wooden Indian statue.
And then, so then we meet the character Benjamin, who was, I don't know, was he like the town mayor? I think he was the mayor or something.
No, he's the
tribe member?
Leader of the Native Americans. Yeah, he's like the chief or whatever of the Native American tribe.
Yeah, he's he's like the leader of the tribe or whatever. And Benjamin wants to talk to Ray inside and stuff, and he comes inside, and he says he's ashamed for this and everything too. He also calls Martha over there too to talk with them, and he gives them a pouch full of. I couldn't believe when I saw this with my own eyes. He gave him some rare silver Indian jewelry.
Yeah, and
I was like, "What the hell? What the hell? Who are you, Bethany? Giving people jewelry to pay for your bills?" That's only.
It's silver.
It's only a joke I'm gonna get. Well, yeah, it is because our boy said later on it's worth $10,000 in silver and shit. I was like, damn, okay. Looks like something you can get off freaking T-mail right now to me.
I don't know if you can get sacred Indian jewelry off Timo, but maybe you can. I've never shopped there, so I don't know.
So he gives him this, and of course Ray, he couldn't take it. He's like, it's a nice older guy. He's like, I can't take this and everything. So basically what happened is, Benjamin's tribe like pretty much has a debt with Ray and everything because Ray and his store and everything, I guess they were kind of, back in the day when the town was successful, they were kind of like giving them money to let them borrow for different things. Even though I didn't see no casino. Where the hell was the casino at, brother?
Well, that's why they have debt, because they don't have a casino yet.
Yeah, that's what they need.
Once the casino was coming, they would have just taken over everything, but that hadn't happened. But I mean, I think that was common for people of a certain time because people didn't necessarily regularly get paid. Like if you were a farmer, in the early part of the 20th century, you would get paid when your crops came in and you could sell them and you could buy stuff. But like during the wintertime, like you really didn't make any money. People just kind of sat around. Like farmers didn't work in the fields really. They didn't have any money. They had to live off whatever they got during the summer. And then a lot of the times they wouldn't have enough to get through. So they would have to go borrow. They wouldn't borrow, but they would like get stuff on credit at the local general store. And then sometimes they wouldn't make enough money off their new crops to pay their debt, which is what's happening here. Yeah. So like the Indian tribe hasn't made enough money because they don't have a casino yet to pay off the debt. So they're giving the Spruces their sacred silver jewelry.
Yes.
Although he doesn't want it.
Yes, he doesn't want it. But basically the Ben says, you got to take it or else you're going to offend me, because I don't want to be in your debt and stuff. So he eventually ends up taking it. So he leaves. All right. So then the Spruces, they come back inside. And this is when we meet the crew, the punk crew. We meet Sam, who's in love with his hair, which he did have nice hair. I'll give him that. All right. We have Andy, who is like the rich guy with the Firebird outside.
Yeah.
And then we have the character, and that is his real name, Fatso.
Fatso, yes.
All
And
right.
Sam is Ben's nephew.
Yes, his nephew and stuff. So he's come there to rob the store because he don't give a fuck anymore. I guess, all this poverty and stuff is really pissing him off. And,
Yeah.
Ray knows who it is because he kicked him out there before because he was stealing, and now they're holding him up. They're stealing more stuff. Mm-hmm. And Sam's going on basically saying, like, I'm going to steal this stuff, and me and the crew, we're going to go to Hollywood. And then he asks to go into the photo booth to see if it's working. And, like, he takes a bunch of pictures of himself. He's like, yeah, look at that hair. Yeah, look at that hair, brother. Look at, man, that fucking hair. It's going to get me laid in Hollywood.
Yeah, man, he's going to be a movie star.
All those girls are going to have my hair between their legs. I was like, damn, bro. You know what? Maybe I should get me some Indian hair, brother. You know what I mean? It's like that long.
I think there's going to be several problems with this endeavor. But we'll see how it turns out, though. Update us in a few months.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. My long flowing Indian hair with my bright white skin. Oh boy! So like, I'll probably look like the Sandman. Not the Sandman wrestler, but the comic book character.
Yeah.
So the big thing is this Sam guy's kind of an asshole. You know what I mean? He's bullying around these old folks. He has the girl go get the purse. He's going through the purse. Then he starts saying like, "Hey, ever seen this movie, girl? Like, did that guy have gray hair?" She's like, "I never seen that shit." He's like, "Well, I have better hair than he does." All right. And now he's getting on to Andy saying, "Hey, go bring the Firebird. He's rich. This guy's a rich guy. That's why he gets that fancy car outside. And go bring it over there. And we're gonna be going to L.A. sooner than we thought, because old man Ray, I know what you got in your hand. You got my ancestors' sacred $10,000 worth jewelry in your hands, brother. All right." And I'm going to take that, and that's going to fund my trip to Los Angeles.
Yeah, because he doesn't care about the sacred jewelry. He just wants to go to L.A.
But, Ray's like, this is your tribe's sacred jewelry. All right? He's like, I don't give a fuck. So kind of a schmoz happens. Like, he tries to take it, but, Ray doesn't want to give it up. And I guess it was by accident, but he kind of did it. So eventually, with a shotgun, Sam shoots Martha in the stomach. All right. And he kind of has a little bit of shock on his face, and Fatso's there, and he's like freaking out. And then Sam shoots down Ray with the shotgun. All right. And then Fatso's like, I never seen anything like this before in my life. And then he's like, you didn't see nothing. You got to forget it. All right. And then they take the jewelry, they get out there, and they go into the Firebird. And they drive off. All right. And during this, we can kind of see that the statue is kind of like, looking on. And we did see I forgot to mention when Benjamin left, he did like say his respects to the statue, and the statue did move a little bit. And he's like, oh, that's weird. Maybe he thought he was having hot flashes or something.
I mean, maybe, but yeah, it would be really weird for the statue to move, and then you just continue on with your life like that is like a normal thing. But,
well, maybe that's sacred Indian tribe magic there, Allison. Okay,
sure,
we don't know nothing about that. Okay,
no, we don't. You're right.
So now the Sam comes up with it's like, hey guys, we're gonna get out of here tonight. We're going to L.A. to be movie stars and shit with my hair. So I need you all to go home, pack whatever you need. All right, we're gonna meet. You got to pick me up there, Andy, at 11. You got it? They all agreed to do it. So the first guy we see is Fatso. He's drinking a Miller High Life. That's right. I noticed the Miller High Life in his hand.
Oh, yeah.
Champagne of beers, brother. All right.
Champagne of beers.
The 80s, the deluxe. That's pretty much the 80s beer. All right. The Miller High Life.
I wish we could have got some at the Revolution the other night. That would have been awesome.
They don't sell that. They don't sell that damn. You know what? We should drink some. We should actually drink some High Life on the air.
We should.
You know what I mean? Because first of all, I haven't had Miller High Life in forever. It used to be my college beer, and I don't know if I'm going to like it nowadays.
You went to college?
Yeah, brother. I went to college for a little bit.
Oh, that's amazing. Anyway,
I mean,
but yeah, we should,
mostly
we
the
should
college bar.
That's what I figured you meant.
I did go to college classes, brother. All right. All right, but yes, I did.
Okay.
I did go to college bars, and the main beer I had was Miller High Life. Especially when I would do that, especially with college parties when we had that. What do you call it? Beer pong. Yeah, beer pong.
Yeah,
brother. They
yeah.
still. I
Beer
mean,
pong's
listen. I'm a little older now, so I'm not sure if they still do the beer pong. Okay.
I probably do.
I'm probably sure they do. These kids. Maybe they might have some new game or something. But I remember back in the day we had the beer pong, and we would put the High Life in the cups. So. But yeah, he's drinking it, and he's watched. So another stuff. So he's watching this show called Cisco. All right, I guess it's like this old, like I never seen this show before. I just heard about it. It's like some sort of old TV show or something.
It's an old western. Yeah,
old
it's an old
western
western TV show.
And apparently, the episode they're watching is about the Indian man or some chief man or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he's watching it, and he seems like he's just taking his sweet time. This is when we see like stuff around his house, and he eventually gets shoot with arrows. All right, through his body and through his head too. And this is also too when we see the Iron Maiden poster, which is cool. So there goes Fatso
for the trooper.
From the Trooper brother. So there goes Fatso. At least he had good music taste and beer taste too.
True. Yep.
He just fucked with the wrong store apparently.
Wrong wooden Indian.
Yeah, wrong wooden Indian. So now we're back at Andy's house, and Andy's trying to sneak away, and the parents were watching the same Western, so I guess it's a popular TV show. All right, this Cisco thing was. So he hears like this glass break. The parents didn't hear it at all. They didn't give a shit. They're watching their Western. All right, but he hears all this glass break, so he goes into the garage, and he sees his car all fucked up. He's all like, what the fuck? And then he gets attacked from behind by we can kind of see it in the shadow. He gets attacked by the wooden chief. You can see him dead laying on his car. All right.
Yeah, I like how you can see the like when he shows the shadow, you can definitely tell it's like a wooden Indian. Like it looked really cool.
Yeah. And then this is when we get Sam, and this guy, I swear, like bro, it's like every day is now he's staring at the mirror. It's like, yeah, that's some fucking good hair. You know what I mean? Fucking great hair, brother. Like it was pretty good foreshadowing about what was about to happen. So he's he likes his hair and everything, and he hears a noise, right? So he goes down there with a shotgun, and he could see that the wooden chief has broken through the door. He's like, "What the hell?" It's like, "You're not supposed to be alive." All right. So he shoots the thing. It doesn't work. Goes into his bathroom, and he's about to shoot him through the door until the wooden chief breaks through the side of the bathroom and grabs his ass. I pulls him out, and then we can see him chopping down on the head, but we don't see like what happened. They kind of cut the scene. Mm-hmm. And we cut to Benjamin waking up, and he can see that the pouch with the 10,000 silver tribe jewelry of fame is there by his side, and he's like wondering what the hell's going on here. So he drives up to the store, and he looks at the chief who scalped Sam's hair off and held it in his hand while turning back to statue form.
Yeah.
That's pretty brutal, though. All right.
That was totally brutal, but I mean, that was the best ending that it could possibly have.
And then the guy gives his respects to the chief and he says, "Rest now." And then he doesn't care about Ray or nothing. He just leaves. Yeah.
Or the fact that he's holding like a bloody scalp in his hand.
Of his fucking nephew.
Of his nephew. Yeah.
He's like, all right. Yeah, I guess he was like, fuck it. He fucked with the wrong people. All right.
He did. He fucked with the wrong people. Yeah, I thought that the Indian looked really good in this. The like the costume of when he's moving at the end of the movie looked really good. He looked like it was actually made out of wood, but he was moving. I thought that was amazing.
It's a good story. You know what I mean? Like, I think you could have done this one, like, you can expand on this story and make it pretty creepy.
Well, I mean, we told everything that happened in like 5 minutes. Like, there's not these three stories do not really have a lot of story to them. Like, not compared to what they were in the first one. Yeah,
they didn't have as much like in depth as like I thought the other. Even though like there was 5 other stories in the other one, I thought those other 5 had besides the Stephen King Weeds crap, whatever Jody, whatever the crap that was.
Right.
I thought the other ones had a little bit more like depth on the story than these 3 did, but these ones were pretty fun. Like these ones were more like let's get to the killing.
Yes.
That's pretty much what it was. Like, okay, we're actually, no, I will give this credit with this chief wouldn't. The scene where the Sam and his crew was bullying the old people, that one was pretty crazy. Like, that was a pretty good, like, you know, it makes you want to feel like it made these characters like shitty, you know what I mean? Like very asshole people. You want to see the chief, you know, kill these three bastards, especially the Sam guy. So I actually thought that one had a pretty good story to it. But up next we got the Raft, brother.
Here we go.
All right. So, well, before we get to Raft, my bad. So we get an animated Billy, all right, and he so in the Creepshow magazine, you can order like special like gimmicks, you know, kind of like remember in the first one where you ordered the voodoo doll.
Voodoo doll.
Yes, our boy Billy in this one, animated Billy, he has ordered a Venus flytrap. And I was like, don't you only find those at gas station urinals? You remember that thing?
Well, yeah, but but this is a bulb, so he's going to grow his own Venus flytrap.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So I like how this old guy was all like, it's like, you buying toys off them funny papers? And the guy's like, ain't no funny papers. It's a comic book. This sounds like, it's like some guy that, you know, when you make fun of comics, it's like it's a comic book, brother. It ain't no funny papers. And this is a real Venus flytrap.
Yeah, that sounded old even then.
I know. And he says the big thing about these Venus flytraps is they like to eat meat. So that's foreshadowing, yes. So this is when we get the Raft now, and we're basically driving around in a yellow car. I believe this car is a Mustang, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm not the best car aficionado. I think it was because it said it had GT tires. But, you know, whatever.
I don't think it's a Mustang. I think it's a Camaro. But I could be wrong.
I got to get my car guy on here. He'll tell me right away. All right.
Yeah,
so
I don't think it's a Mustang.
So all these kids are smoking the weed. All right. In the car. All right.
Smoking the weed. They're doing the marijuana.
They're doing the marijuana, brother, in the car. All right. All right, and then this is when the character
taking the marijuana pills.
Yeah, this is when So basically, the character Randy. All right.
Yes.
This is around it's almost like Halloween time, but he said that he saw this raft at this lake like last week, and he hopes it's still there. That's why they're all going there to hang out at this raft around. Well, I mean, come on. Basically, what it was is there's like these two dudes. One's a jock guy, okay. The Deke, the guy from Deke. Then we got Randy, and then they brought out two girls, Rachel and Lorene. All right, and basically they you know like the '80s do, and like most kids would probably do nowadays. They bring out these two girls to go swim, skinny dipping, and hopefully have some sex on the lake, brother. Hopefully Jason's not by.
Yeah, it's Laverne, isn't it?
Laverne, yes. What did I say? Levine? Whatever.
Levine, yes. Late Rachel and Laverne.
Yeah, Rachel and Laverne. So, our boy Deke, he's all like Mr. Football guy, tan, blonde hair, brother. You know what I mean? Hulk Hogan, let's go. He's all ready to go. Randy, he's kind of like the smarty guy. You know what I mean? Because he goes to school and does well at school. Loser. All right. What's that ever going to do for you?
Nothing.
So now they get there, and this part kind of pissed me off because maybe I'm OCD. So they get out of the car, right? And they just leave the fucking car doors open.
Playing the radio.
Close that shit, brother. They're going to get bugs in there, especially in the fucking lake.
Also, how long was would it be before the car battery died?
I mean, I guess they didn't give a shit. Maybe they're going to do a little quick swim and then come back.
Yeah, maybe.
So they get in the water. Deke goes in the water first. It's cold as shit, apparently. Randy thinks he's going to get hypothermia because he's a science guy. All right, so then he gets into the water. Now he's cold. And he's like, man, I just came out here to get laid, but now my balls are going to be all shivering. All right?
Yes.
And this is when... And they kept calling each other Cisco and Pacho the whole time, too.
Yeah, which is from the Cisco Kid, which is a throwback to the first show where they were watching Cisco Kid on television.
Yes. So the girls get in there after a while, and they all start swimming. And this is when Randy, he notices that there's like some sort of like swamp thing, like attacking a duck. And
yeah, it's like looks like an oil slick.
Yeah. And he gets up on there, and we have this like scene. It's kind of a tense scene with the girls getting on the raft pretty quickly. And then, Randy's just focused on this oil slick thing. And now they start talking about it a little bit. Saying like, I think it's an oil slick, but it doesn't look like any oil slick I've seen before. Because apparently before, I guess he saw an oil slick before, but he said it didn't look as uniformed as this one.
Why would there even be an oil slick in this lake?
Well, first of all, Allison, I mean, it might not even be an oil slick. What it is, it's a it's the creature of the Black Lagoon. Okay. What he did was when he melts. All right. This is what he turns into.
Right, but no, he thinks it's an oil slick though.
Yes.
He doesn't know it's alive. He thinks it's an oil slick, but an oil slick usually you would get like in the ocean when you had like an oil tanker that leaked oil or something. Like I don't know why this would be in a lake, but anyway, I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, maybe a car, fell down in the lake. There's some, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's there for unknown reasons.
Okay? Unknown reasons, and it ate a duck, and now he's excited, or he's worried about it.
Yes. So now they're all looking at it, they're all like kind of worried about it, and now the girl Rachel, she starts like touching the shit. He's like, I don't know if she should do that, and then this thing fucking just grabs her. It kind of reminded me of Venom. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot like Venom.
Yeah. Exactly. It just does the opposite effect.
It's right. Instead of giving you powers, it like eats you.
Yeah, it eats you. So this thing wraps him up. Maybe this is like the reverse symbiote. You know what I mean?
It's like reverse Venom.
Yes. So it takes the girl, it kind of pushes her down, and I actually thought like the best part of this raft thing was like when this symbiote takes over the body and like melts him and like everything looked good when it comes to the prosthetics of the death and everything, and the death scenes are pretty creepy. So it takes her down. Everybody's like freaking out. And Deke, he kind of wants to like, maybe they can make a swim for it, but then they're like, like they don't know if they can outrun it or not. And they're kind of confused about what to do. So they're just going to have to like, wait a little bit. And of course, they're freaking out. Everybody's kind of freaking out a little bit.
Well, at first they think that maybe it's full and it won't be as fast.
Yes.
Because it was hungry before, but then it ate one of the girls.
Yeah.
And, but now it probably won't be as fast.
Yeah. And then Deke, he's down there, and I like how he's like, well, come on, science guy. Tell me what it is. All right? And then he gets mad at everybody. All right? And they're saying, like you're saying, like it might go away if it's full now. All right? And now it's going underneath the raft. So now Deke's like, okay, well, now that's going on underneath the raft. Maybe we can make a swim for it. So right before I think he was about to go make a swim for it, the symbiote grabs his foot. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts, this part I thought was pretty crazy, man. It was like, took his foot, and it was like grabbing him down there, through like the little hole that was on this raft. And like, it's like capturing his whole body. Like, Randall and Lorene, they were just like looking at him like, oh shit. And then like, I like the part where it takes him and it like pushes him down, and you can see his leg pop out. Like his leg is like standing up in front of like it crushed his leg in and stuff. And like half of it's on his face and stuff, and he like took him down. I was like, man, that part was pretty creepy. So,
yeah, I mean, the concept of this is kind of scary because it can pop up at any time, and you never know when it's going to.
Yeah. So this is when the girl Lorene, she jumps on Randall's arms and stuff, and they're kind of freaked out. But then Randy learned that he if you stay on like the planks, it can't get you. It only got deep because there was a little hole section in that one part. So they're basically just gonna wait it out. So they kind of wait like the whole night. They're waiting it out and everything, and they're kind of stuck there. It's getting kind of cold and everything. And eventually they sleep, and then we got a weird something that I didn't really expect seeing.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of semi confused. So they hug each other, right, for warmth, and they fall asleep in each other's arms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not like they were a couple or anything. They're just like, obviously just to keep each
No,
other
Rachel.
warm.
Wait, Laverne is the one that's still alive, right?
Yeah, Laverne. Yeah.
Laverne was Deke's girlfriend.
Yeah.
But now
or his
Deke and
hookup.
Rachel are dead. So
Yeah.
So
like,
this is not the part that
yeah.
that confuses me the most. But anyway, we'll get there in just a second.
So, he wakes up, right? Randy does.
Right.
And he at first I thought they both going to wake up, but he just wakes up. You can see that Laverne, she's still sleeping. All right. And then he looks at the thing, and he looks at her, and then he like lays her down. All right. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe what he's trying to do is he's going to lay her down. He's just going to sacrifice this girl, and he's going to try to make her run for it. All right.
But no, he doesn't. He sexually assaults her on the raft, basically.
So then, like you're saying, like he like takes her shirt off and just starts rubbing on her, kissing on her, rubbing on her tits, about to put the titties in his mouth. And I'm like, wait, whoa, wait, hold on a second, brother. Maybe
how did this happen all of a sudden?
I was like, maybe stuff just made him horny or something, death or something. I have no idea. Okay,
I guess back in the 80s, you could it was perfectly okay to like, sexually assault someone while they slept, apparently.
But like, I don't know if that was like the time for that. You know what I mean? Like, if there's not a time for sexual assault ever, okay. But like, how does that even come up in your head when you have a deadly symbiote out there about to attack you if you're laid near the thing? Like, I kind of get like him like maybe sacrificing her to save his own body, but then like, why does he need to like touch on her titties and shit? It was just weird. That part was just confusing.
Right, because he was just like, okay, we're in this deathly situation where we could die at any moment, but I'm going to take this moment to take her shirt off and play with her boobs.
Yeah, which is weird. Like, I mean, I was just kind of trying to figure it out. Like
why? Why is this happening?
And we didn't really get like sense that he was like an asshole character too. But I guess you could, I don't know, weird life and death situation. I don't know, man. It was just weird. This scene was kind of weird to me. Because then what happens is her face gets attacked by the symbiote, and I couldn't tell if Randy, like, what did you think was going to happen? You know what I mean? Like, we knew the thing was underneath the raft. We knew that if you are exposed to, parts of where the water would come in, like, the thing would get you. Like, was that his plan? Or I have no idea. So I guess it might have been some of his plan. So the girl's face is all fucked up now, and he just waits there for like 5 minutes seeing her die. Then he decides to get off the raft and swim away while the thing is chasing him. All right.
Well, kind of. So he like, once he realizes that it's going to get her, he decides that he's going to swim to shore.
Yeah.
While it's eating her, and maybe it won't catch up to him in time.
Yeah. So I mean, but he took forever to get to the water. Like, why didn't he? Right when the thing started to attack her, why didn't he just leave? Well,
because you have to have enough time to decide, well, can I save her or not? And
well,
once
I mean,
he's the
one that set her up to be killed.
No, I don't think that's what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to have sex with her, and then he was wanting to have sex with her while she slept, and then the thing just attacked her.
Okay, I still don't get it. So you're in a life and death situation on a raft, and you want some booty.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, bro.
That's what happened in this scenario. Like, he decides he wants to have sex with her while she's asleep. And then while that was happening or about to happen, her face was being eaten by the oil slick monster.
Strange stuff. That's a very strange story. So now he gets out there. He's swimming to the shore. So he finally gets on the shore, right? And he's like, yes, I outran you.
I beat you.
I beat you, you whatever you are. And then the thing fucking waves his ass and fucking takes him over because he can go on land by doing a wave.
Well, it can go far enough to get him, but like, why didn't he just get further away from the beach? Like, why didn't he go back to where the car is?
Well, I don't know, man. Like, why did he try to get some ass on a killer raft out there and when he's freezing?
For the guy who's supposedly educated, like, he makes the worst decisions.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So, but yeah, so that was that one. Very interesting story. It did have all the stuff I liked in it, though, like the weed, kids being dumb, getting killed, and titties. But the order,
yeah, as I was saying, it has titties.
the order which they did those were kind of questionable. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree with that statement.
So then we get some more animated scenes of Billy, and now Billy is being followed by bullies. All right. And the big thing about this is the main bully took Billy's Venus flytrap and smashed it with his foot. All right. And then Billy just nut chops his ass. All right. And he gets away. And I like how the bully is like, I want his ass.
I want his ass.
I want his ass, brother. Did I ever tell you my favorite Ric Flair line?
Oh, no.
That
What is it?
I seriously laughed for like a whole month. It was during a Nitro, right?
Yeah.
And it was like freaked out. I forgot who he was talking to, but his line was basically like, you know, I want you in this ring. I want your ass, and I'm even gonna shave your ass. I was like, you're gonna shave his ass? That's how mad. That's how mad. Because I think there was like a hair versus hair thing, right? He's like, you want to shave my hair? You're shave. I'm gonna shave your ass. And I was like, you're gonna shave his ass? Like ass hair? You're gonna physically shave? Wow. He's gonna make him have a bald ass. Yeah, that was a great line. Speaking of ass,
I want his ass. Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of ass, we have the HitchHiker now. Okay.
We do.
So this story is pretty interesting, especially the beginning. So we see like a loft, and these two. Well, I thought they were a couple, but they're not. We see this character named Annie, and then we have this character described as Annie's lover. All right.
Yes. I don't think he even had a name, did
He
he?
didn't have his name. That's his name, Annie's lover. All right.
Yeah.
So they wake up late, like it's supposed to be 11:50. It's 11:15 at night, and I guess his alarm went off and shit. And then they had this whole conversation, like, "Well, I got this fucking electric alarm because it's it doesn't make any noise." Because she recommended him giving him like a one of those old school ones that like do that little ticking tock sound.
Right. So you got to remember that it's 1987.
Yeah,
right?
brother.
So,
There ain't no smartphone there.
I'm assuming, I don't know. In 1987, I guess digital alarms clocks were like a newfangled idea. I guess.
Yeah, brother.
I don't know.
Just wait till it gets the radio in it.
But the
That's when you're really up there, brother.
it gets a radio in it.
Yeah.
But like the thing is like her reaction to it, because it's blinking 12 o'clock, and she's like, at first I thought she was joking when she's like, "There's something wrong with your clock." And he's like, "Oh, there must have been a power outage because it resets when there's a power outage." She's like completely confused over this concept of like your alarm clock not keeping its time when there's a power outage.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, were digital clocks really that new in 1987 that people wouldn't know what the fuck they were?
Yeah. I mean, come on, man.
I mean, I guess they were. And then he says that, and she wants to buy him an old school clock with the bells on it so that it won't do that. And then he's like, no, he's like, I hate that. I like when this thing wakes me up, it sounds like birds chirping or something like that.
So then, like, she talks about her Mercedes and how he wants to get one. And this is when we find out that Annie's husband is basically like a lawyer, and he's been, basically she's cheating on her husband with like this dude who is like a professional lovemaker.
Yeah,
right?
she's paying him to fuck her.
Yes. And she paid him. He's like, well, this is kind of short and stuff. I only gave you the entry price. Like, it needs to be up now because I counted 6 orgasms. That's what he said. And she's like, oh, you're paying by orgasms now? He's like, you know what? I wasn't, but that's probably a good idea. And I'm sitting here like, man, that is a good idea. Like, how would you do that? You know what I mean? Like, maybe, what I mean, 75 for each one? I don't know.
Well, I mean, he only got $120 for the whole thing.
Well, I know. I think he got 150.
Or maybe he got 150.
Yeah, I got the 150.
Still,
he
got
got 150.
In 1987, you could fuck somebody for $150.
Yeah. There you go, brother.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Hey, you know what? What a great time. Right.
What a great time to be alive.
Yes. And then
You can
apparently
sexually assault somebody on a raft, and you can fuck somebody for $150.
And apparently, like, he wants to get a little bit more so he can start paying for Mercedes. So you're telling me $120 a week, because that's when this girl would come over, like, every week. Unless he has multiple clients, I don't know. But $200 a week, he could pay for that expensive apartment and a Mercedes? Damn.
He probably had more
change.
than one client.
He had
But still, I mean,
less.
you gotta think he's making, $150 a day in 1987. That's probably pretty good money then.
So this is when Annie says, her husband's a lawyer. That's how they've been, she was able to get this Mercedes and be able to pay for all this stuff. And now she leaves because she has to go meet him. And she's in the car, right? And she's like, okay, I got 20, let's see, Flash Girl. I got 20 miles to go in 7 minutes. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, so basically she says he's going to be home at midnight, right?
No, 11:30. They were supposed to meet
11:30. Okay, so and then they overslept. Although I'm not really sure why they're sleeping at this time of night.
Well, after 6 orgasms, Allison, you're gonna need some breaks.
I guess so, but I don't understand why she doesn't just leave after the 6th orgasm.
Well, she has to fucking calm down a little
Why
bit.
are they even sleeping?
The love making was so intense, brother.
Why is there an alarm? Like, why did they set an alarm for like 11 o'clock at night or what? I don't know. None of this makes any sense, but okay. I also thought it was daytime when I first watched it.
Yeah.
Like it looked like it was morning, but then she goes outside and it's nighttime.
Yeah.
But yeah, she has to be home before her husband gets there because she can't possibly think of some excuse to not be home other than I was fucking some guy.
Yeah, well, yeah, she tries to come up with some excuses what she could tell her husband.
But I guess she's too dumb to be able to figure that out. So like, I mean,
she's all like, well,
like, you can't be like, oh, I went to the store, anything.
Well,
just
she
pretty
kinda
much
was.
anything.
She said
anything you could come up with.
she wasn't going to use the movie idea.
Right.
But then she's
I
like,
guess that wouldn't have worked. But
then she's like, well, husband, she was just saying this stuff in her car. I was like, well, what I was really doing, I was having this guy have sex with me, and I pay $150 for an orgasm. How do you like that one? All right.
Wow.
So now, so now she's trying to like hurry up and get back home and everything, and she's kind of got a little distracted on the road. So she starts like spinning around, you know what I mean? Because she's kind of losing her balance. And then she eventually runs over this yellow jacket hitchhiker.
Yeah.
All right. And she runs him all over and she's like, oh shit, what the fuck? So she just drives on off. All right. And then this is when we have a couple people stop. We have one guy in a stop seeing it. He said he saw a car moving. And then we had the truck driver who is Stephen King. All right.
Classic acting role.
My notes,
truck driver.
My notes literally have his acting ? And then his line was like, because this girl's like, "What the hell happened here?" It's like, "Oh, some guy got ran over. It happens all the time." That's Stephen King's line. I was like, "Oh, God."
Right.
So now Annie, she's driving nervous, right? And she's like talking to herself. She's like, "Can I live with this? Like, I'm not certain if I can." And like, she's like talking more to herself. She started listening to the radio. And then she's like, okay, well, if I can't live with myself, I'll just turn myself in later. And then she's thinking like, oh, who saw me? Like the car guy probably was too far away, couldn't see me. The truck driver might have saw me. But she thinks she'll be, okay. And she just, kind of obviously freaked out and nervous. All right, and she was wondering, like, who saw her and everything. And then by the corner of her eye, she sees the hitchhiker all in yellow, alive, and she kind of stops, and you can see him coming to the car a little bit, and she's like, "What the hell?" And then next thing you know, he pops up, he's like all bloody and shit. He's like, "Thanks for the ride, ma'am. I appreciate it." She's like freaking out and everything, and she's like driving off. All right, and he's like holding on to the car while she's doing this. So we have this big drive scene of the hitchhiker all bloody trying to get into the car, holding onto the car's roof, putting his hand in there. She has a Corvette, so she's like trapping his hand on there. She's swerving around everything. She goes through a whole batch of branches, to get this guy off. And she eventually knocks him off. All right. And she's like, And she pulls him, and then the other guy, he gets like blown off the car, and she's like, what the hell's going on? Like, okay, maybe I can fix up this car and everything. Then he gets into the car, and he's still saying the same thing. This whole line is thanks for the ride, ma'am. And then she pulls out the gun and starts shooting his ass 3 times. Doesn't work. Then she shoots his ass 3 more times. Yeah, she eventually shoots him 6 times. All right, and she thinks that all works. Okay, so now she's like getting out of there, and she's driving off, and now she's thinking like, okay, how am I gonna explain this car wreck to my husband? And then she's like saying like.
Go ahead. It just gets even funnier because like when she has the whole thing where she's swerving along the road and hits the hitchhiker. Like at that point, her car's all fucked up already, and she's lost the hubcap.
Yeah.
It at this point, like how is she going to explain that part to him? And then she goes through all the trees, and the car's really fucked up, and then she hits a tree eventually, and then she's like, well, how am I going to explain this? I'm like,
well, she comes to the idea saying like, okay, it's going to be. I think she's like saying like the husband's kind of, which is weird. So the husband is very tight on money, yet she's using his money to fuck other dudes. So he's not tight on that part,
right? Well, I'm sure he gives her money to spend on things, and she spends it on fucking this other guy.
So now she's like saying, well, it's going to be $25,000 to fix it up just like brand new. She keeps saying all that, and she's like, well, who is this guy? And, all right, and eventually she starts, going a little crazy, all right, and so then the hitchhiker appears again. After that, and now she starts really freaking out, and this is when she drives off the road, and she goes all the way down like this big dirt road section, and she eventually runs the hitchhiker into the tree, and she keeps going back and forth, hitting him into the tree,
running over the hitchhiker.
And eventually she passes out, then she wakes up, and she doesn't see the hitchhiker anymore, and she probably just thinks it's all a dream, but now she's all kind of bloodied and stuff, and now she's saying, oh, okay, you don't worry about this, Mrs. Lashing. $20,000 will get you all brand new and everything. So she's kind of going a little psycho on herself. Mm-hmm. And now her plan is to, maybe she's like, hey, at least I can explain why I haven't been home. I think it's just tell my husband I got into an accident. All right. So now,
where were you going? If you'd thought of this lie to start with, we wouldn't have this.
She was going to go to the movie. All right. And then she got into an accident. There you go. That's my guess.
There you go.
So she gets up. She gets the car out of there. I don't know how she got this car out of this fucking dirt, snowy road. Okay. My Mustang would have been stuck, brother. I would have been fucked. All right. But she got it out of there. She drives all the way back home. Okay. And she gets home. She drives the car into the garage. And she's all like, it's like past 11:30 and my husband's not even here. Like, this is the first time like ever he's been late for meeting us. And she's like, of all the days for him to be late and not here, it has to be this date right here where I fucking run over a hitchhiker or I get attacked by this supposed hitchhiker guy that I'm seeing and everything. And then while she's saying all this stuff, she opens up the door, and then right at the bottom, the hitchhiker is there, all burnt up and bloody and everything, saying the same thing. Thanks, ma'am. We're all mingled and stuff. And he starts grabbing her. It looks like he's singing into her ear. And then the next thing you know, I guess she gets killed by him. And this is when the husband comes back home. He opens up the garage. The garage is all smoky and stuff. And he looks at the Annie, and she now has a sign that says Dover.
Dover. Which is where the hitchhiker was going.
Yes.
Yeah, he held a sign the entire time that said Dover. And the reason the husband was late because he was one of the people who stopped to help the hitchhiker.
Oh yes, there you go. Yes, he was. He was the one of the guys that was. He was the first guy who was on the scene.
Yes,
that's happened to hitchhiker.
He called 911 from his car phone.
Yes. So after this, we have the animated boogeyman creep there. About to close us out until he sees young Billy. He's like, yes, I forgot about young Billy. Let's go back to his story. and young Billy is getting chased by all these animated kids on the bicycle, and he basically brings him out to the field on his bicycle, and they're about to destroy him and make him feel pain, until we find out that Billy has a bunch of full-grown Venus flytraps. All right, and they start eating the kids, and Billy's all laughing with his evil grin now, and he's all saying, "They eat meat." And then we see,
fantastic.
Then we see the creep. He's laughing. We're in real life now, and then he starts throwing a bunch of comic books on an empty road, and then that's it.
Yep, for the next issue of Creepshow. Did you, by chance, watch all the credits?
No. Why would I miss them?
So, yeah, well, kind of. So at the end of the credits, there's a text that appears after the credits roll that says, "Juvenile delinquency is the product of pent-up frustrations, stored-up resentments, and bottled-up fears. It is not the product of cartoons and captions, but the comics are a handy, obvious, uncomplicated scapegoat. If the adults who crusade against them would only get as steamed up over such basic causes of delinquency as parental ignorance, indifference, and cruelty, they might discover that comic books are no more a menace than Treasure Island or Jack the Giant Killer."
There you go.
And that came from a quote that came out around the time of the EC Comics lawsuit. So in the 50s, there was like this big push because like juvenile delinquency was like a huge problem when rock and roll came out. You know, like all the Elvis kids were like all doing like whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
So they blamed comic books for this because they did a study that showed that, you know, like 8 out of 10 kids who were arrested for delinquency had read comic books. But they could have also have found that 8 out of those 10 kids have drank milk too, and they could have just said milk would cause the delinquency just as well. But it ended up being like going in front of Congress, and they were going to ban comic books essentially. And then the comic book companies the comic industry decided to start something called the Comics Code Authority, which basically was they were going to self-regulate themselves, but they were going to be able to stay in business. And they created like certain rules, like no drugs. Like horror comics were basically banned because there couldn't be anything like werewolves or vampirism or anything like that in comic books. The bad guy had to always lose. Then they made all these rules that they had to follow for decades. They basically followed them all the way up until like the 90s or the early 2000s probably. But that was a quote from around that time when people were trying to talk about how ridiculous it was that comic books were causing this problem. And, you know, these Creepshow movies are based on those Tales from the Crypt horror comics from the 50s that were being banned because of this. So that's where that quote comes from. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's very interesting about, you know, we talked about here every once in a while about censorship that was happening around this time. Yeah. Of course, we talk about the video nasties all the time in Europe and stuff. That was very interesting. I wasn't too familiar with that comic book ban and what they were going through at this particular time. So that's pretty interesting. So obviously that's different now, brother. There's some crazy ass comic books out there now.
Oh yeah. We've definitely gone away from the Comics Code Authority.
Yeah. But everybody, I hope you all enjoyed it. Creepshow 2, definitely a fun one. I'm glad we actually got to do this. I've been waiting to do these for a while, these Creepshows. And of course, you know, we have Creepshow 3, which actually happened in 2006, but it has really nothing really to do with the, Stephen King or George A. Romero. I don't think it even has like a comic themed theme to it. No, it's pretty much like it has 5 stories, but all the 5 stories like connect towards each other. You know, kind of like when we were talking about like the Trick or Treat movie or whatever, where there's like different stories going on. They all kind of like intertwine. It's kind of like that. But I heard it's not well done at all. I've never seen it, so I can't really comment on it. But that's what I've heard about it. And of course, we have the Creepshow TV series that's been on AMC and Shudder, which I have seen, which I do enjoy those a lot. So everybody, if you haven't seen those, check it out. They're not like the most revolutionary horror classic stuff, but it's very fun. It's done the same style as these movies are.
I was about to say it's supposed to feel like these movies.
Yes.
I think were they done by Greg Nicotero?
Yes,
the guy who did Walking Dead in his early days.
Yes.
And Adrian Barbeau comes back for episode 1. I've seen a couple of them. They're pretty good.
Yes.
I like.
And Greg, he obviously he worked a lot with George A. Romero. So obviously, he's a big fan of these creep shows. So that's why he, obviously he has a lot of stroke when it comes to doing stuff on AMC and Shudder because of his big work on The Walking Dead. And, I think he was just first doing the first season as a passion project. But then they're on like season 4 now. So there's a lot of these things. And like I said, I haven't seen all of them. But the stuff I have seen, they are pretty good. So I recommend everybody checking them all out on there. But yeah, pretty fun stuff. But Allison, what are we going to be doing next week here on the Retro Blood? Which one do you want to dive into?
Man, next week we're gonna do something, a movie I've never seen. It's called Fright House.
Ooh, Fright House.
And if anybody wants to watch it, it's on the Tubi.
Ooh, the Tubi.
But yeah, it only has 2 stories, and it's only about an hour long, so it'll be a shorter. It's probably gonna have more story than these stories had, but yeah, it'll be a little bit shorter of a movie than we normally do.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to try and do a movie that neither one of us had seen, and neither one of us has seen this. So this will be a good one.
So before I give some of my thoughts on that, we forgot to rank what story we like the best, brother. Obviously we can't do rank it next week. Maybe we can just tell them which story we like the best next week, but.
That's what we'll do.
So I'll go on mine first. I think the best one I liked out of this was obviously the first one, Chief Woodenhead. That was like my top story. Other than that, I'll probably go with the Raft, and then I'll end it with the Annie story. So I guess that's my list right there. So I'll do it how they did it in this order. I'll do 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Actually, the thing I liked the best about this movie was the animated parts. But that's not one of the stories. So I would rank them the same way you did.
Yeah. I
like Chief Woodenhead, I think, was the best one. The Raft was 2, and then Annie's story was the 3rd. I was really disappointed in this. I really expected to like this because I remember liking this movie when it first came out. But I don't know. I just didn't really like this as much. I thought that this was going to be better than the first one, and it definitely was not.
No, I would say it's better than the first one. I thought it had like good parts to it. Like I said, like the scene with the kids in there and torturing the old people. I thought that was well done.
That was good. Yeah.
I did like the how we see teenagers in the 80s, especially the later 80s, and of course we got the 6 orgasm girl. So it was okay, but it definitely didn't have the depth, and it didn't have the classicness of the first one. The first one just had the stories were just a way more. Obviously I had a better acting cast too, but the stories were just way more detailed, way more like for how short they were just way more memorable. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, like these stories barely had any story at all.
Yeah,
I mean, like the Raft. Essentially, they drive to the Raft, swim out there. It kills them one by one. Then he swims back and dies. That's literally the whole thing. I mean, there's just not a lot of story. There's just not a lot of substance to it.
Well, we got to learn about oil spills and shit.
We did kind of learn about oil spills, and we got to watch it eat a duck. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I thought I would like this more because I remember liking this movie, but I just it was all right, I guess. I just didn't care that much for it overall.
Well, we'll see if we care about the next one for next week. Everybody, Fright House. All right.
Fright House.
Should be interesting on the Tubies. We'll go watch it. We'll see. I guess we'll see what's our favorite story out of the two. So we'll see how it goes. But Allison, what Iron Maiden song do you want to leave us with here today?
Let's leave with a song from the Somewhere in Time album. Let's head on out with Sea of Madness.
Oh, Sea of Madness. So, that actually goes pretty well with our story of the Raft, brother. Because, the venom-like symbiote creature that likes to eat teenagers, is madness out there. All right? You don't know what you're going to get.
It's kind of a sea of madness to decide to sexually assault someone instead of trying to save yourself from the venom symbiote.
Well, apparently. Apparently the symbiote makes you do nasty things. Okay.
Apparently so.
But everybody, thanks for joining us here on the Retro Blood. Come check us out next week. We talk about the Fright House. We will all see